What is up, Tress? It's Tress to Impress, and I am Biggity BACK back with another video. And today's video is going to be me doing my daughter's hair, and I'm going to be sharing my top tips for our tender-headed tots to keep them calm, cool, and collected while they get their hair done. Stay tuned, share this video, and save it for later. I have already removed her twist, but her parting sections are still visible. As you can see, this particular style that I'm doing today has 16 sections, which brings me to my first tip for our tender-headed tots, which is I keep the parting as simple as possible. If I were to part off all 16 sections at one time, she would become very agitated and we would not make it through. So I start off with one part down the middle, making two sections, and then I go back and make a part from ear to ear. So now that creates 4 large sections. Now she may wear her hair like that in those 4 large sections, or even the 2 sections, for a few days or a few weeks. And then I would go in and break it down into more sections. So with one of those quadrants, I'm going to show you in just a second how I can part it in half and make 2 sections, and then in half again to make 4 more sections within that one quadrant, which I did that in all 4 of the large quadrants on her head, creating the 16 sections. I have come to find that her texture of hair is much easier to deal with in the smaller sections. So I just add more parting whenever I have time to do so. I also have discovered that for her age right now, this is pretty much our max amount of sections that she can sit through me refreshing at one time. And she is 33 months old now. My second tip for our tender-headed tots is I like to make the detangling process as gentle as I possibly can. So I start off with finger detangling her hair when it's dry. Then I add water with my spray bottle, as you just saw, finger detangle some more. Then I go in with a wide tooth comb starting at the ends and working my way up to the roots. And as you can see, she is unbothered. I will be sure to link a shopping list down below of all of the products that I use in this video so that you guys can have access to them if you need them. So I'm also using this detangling brush. I call it a low tension detangling brush. I have no idea what this brush is called, so if you know, comment down below. But I use it as my second detangling tool, and that is because the teeth separate from each other, and if they catch a snag or a knot, it doesn't just rip through the hair. So I love that, and I still start at the ends and work my way up to the scalp with that. Then I add oil. So this is just grease, hair grease, that I'm adding to her hair, and I rub that through. The oil and the water mixture help the Denman brush to slide through the hair, which is my third detangling tool. So I break that detangling all the way down. I don't just go in with one brush and get everything done with one tool. The tools get smaller and smaller as we go. Now, I also like to take a little bit of time to neaten up the parting, and that just helps her to have crispy parts. Even if I skip a couple of days combing her hair completely, the parts looking crispy each time helps the hair to look very fresh every day. My final tool is the fade brush, and that gives me a nice sleek base without using a lot of stronghold products on her scalp. So I use that and just a tiny bit of gel, and this particular gel that I use does not flake and it's not a super strong hold. And my third tip is to make sure that I wrap her rubber bands with low tension. So this size rubber band that I'm using, I wrap 4 times, and I count it out, and I make sure that I wrap all of her rubber bands the same number of times. It's important to note that with kinky curly hair, the style tightens after you finish, whether it's braids at the scalp, whether it's rubber bands, whatever the method of tension is at the scalp that's keeping the hair neat and in place, it tightens unless you're not using any form of tension at the root. I know from experience on my own head, I can be getting braids and it feels tight, but like not unbearably tight, and it tightens up as time passes, as your hair is exposed to the elements, humidity in the air, and it dries and tightens up and all of the things. So then I two strand twist her hair all the way down to the end and give a little finger coil on the end. And I tug on that rubber band just a little bit at the root to make sure that it's not too tight and it has a little bit of space. Now, I repeat that process on every section of hair on her head. Yes, all of those steps. So it sounds like a lot of steps for detangling, but it goes by really fast and it keeps her nice, calm, cool, and collected, which is what I'm going for. My tip number 4 for keeping my tender-headed tot calm while she's getting her hair combed is keeping her occupied. So I pick a couple of games or toys, make sure those are by our sides, and some snacks, something to drink, so that whenever she does get antsy or bored, I have something to pass her. I have something for her to work on, even if it's just sorting through the rubber band colors and we practice colors. She always has something to focus on. My pro tip number 5 is when she is giving me signs that I am hurting her, I stop. So right here you can see that she's putting her hand up, she's pushing me away, and I stop. You see I offer her a chip. I kind of learned this one the hard way. I know that I'm always being gentle with her hair, but instead of trying to convince her and myself that I'm being gentle enough, I just stop if she's giving me signs that I'm hurting. I had to realize that no matter how gentle I think I'm being on her hair, it still could be hurting her. To continue without stopping to address it and change what I'm doing is traumatizing. So even if I was successful with pushing through and completing the style, if she is traumatized, then she's going to have a response whenever she sees me coming with the brush. I would not even need to touch her head. And I don't want her to hate hair comb time. I want her to enjoy it so that it makes it easier on me. And as an adult, I don't want anybody pulling and tugging on my head and I don't sit there and pretend like it doesn't hurt or pretend like I'm enjoying it if I'm not. So I don't expect her to do that. And on the rare occasion that I do pay for a service, I like a little drink, a little snack, a little potty break, and, great conversation, something to do. So I try to create that same experience for her. So this is 3/4 of her hair completed. And now I only have the 4 sections at the front of her head, which I'm actually going to flat twist. The front started off in square sections like the rest of her head, and the twists were in her face, so I decided to change it to these flat twists in the front. And we have the middle part, and then I put one part on either side of the middle part, and all of the parts start from the middle part, so it's super easy. At this point, you can see my girl is enjoying her fruit snacks. We had chips, ice water. She has already played with 2 toys and gotten bored with them at this point, so she started playing with rubber bands and putting them on as rings and sorting the colors. She is most anxious when I get to the front of her head, and it's always been that way. I'm not sure if she's more tender-headed in these sections of her hair or if it's the simple fact of her actually being able to see what I'm doing in her peripheral vision. In addition to that, I do have to pull at her scalp more for the flat twist. So to keep her calm, cool, and collected, I have to be very careful to not pull her hair too tightly. Now, that means that her flat twists are not perfectly molded down when I do them, but they are neat and they do stay neat for about 5 to 7 days. Now, is it completely frizz-free every day? No. But does she look like somebody cares about her at home? Yes. For the flat twist, I pretty much just pick up the smallest section that I can at the very front of the part and twist that section over, gather another piece, twist that section over, add another piece, twist that section over, add another piece, and so on and so forth until I get to the back end of the section. I have done these flat twists on the sides before where I curve them downward, but for this particular go round, I just went straight back and stopped there and then secure the base with a rubber band, and then I two-strand twisted the remaining part. Because her hair is thicker towards the top and the front, another way that I did discover helps with keeping her hair detangled and lasting longer with this hairstyle is for this front row that's flat twisted and the first row behind that, I created two-strand twists from each rubber band. That's also a way that I was able to thin out the sections without creating extra parts. Now for this go round, I ended up just doing one two-strand twist from each section just to keep it short, sweet, and simple because I haven't filmed with her in a long time and I did not know how long I was going to be able to get her to sit still in one sitting, but she did very well. Maybe in the next video I can show you guys that method of how I create more sections without more parting. This is actually a super pro tip for tender-headed tots because we've had times, ages where I did have to leave her in 2 large sections or 4 large sections, but if I just leave it that way, it would mat up easily and I would just create, 4 to 6 plaits in each section without creating more parting. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's super simple, but it's something that you might not have thought of would help with dealing with your kid being tender-headed. The final tip that I want to point out is that I have found with my daughter, combing her hair more often helps with her being tender-headed and it helps with her being calm and getting her hair done. So the more often we do this, the more she is used to the program. The more you're in the hair, combing the hair, pulling the hair, tugging the hair, the more the scalp gets used to it. Not only are you learning to be more gentle, but the scalp is learning, okay, this is like a normal, regular thing, and it becomes more like usual, just like working out. Your first time working out, second time, third time, it might be a lot of stress on your body, but your body gets used to it. Same thing happens with your hair. So the more you get protective styles and braids that are going to last 2 to 3 months without the hair being combed and the scalp being touched and stimulated, the more tender the scalp is at the end of it. Like I know for myself, I have had braids before. I take them down a month later, and when I shampoo my scalp, it is so tender. It's the same thing for the tiny tots. Actually, it's more exaggerated for them. They have tender, fresh scalps, soft spots, all of the things. At this point, I am finishing up the second flat twist, and then I do the 2-strand twist for the ends and then finger coil. And I repeat that process on the opposite side of her head for 2 twists. And I'm actually going to do that part off camera. So it's time for the final reveal. This is the final hairstyle. She picked out the pink rubber bands. It's a multicolored set. I will try to link it if I can find it. And I allow her to pick what color she wants to wear. And then, of course, y'all already know with Tress to Impress, the look is not complete without a bow. Don't forget to like, save, share, and let me know what you think of the look down in the comments below. Also, give me your opinion on the tips that I gave, and I will see you in the next one.